That's a
Yeah.
great idea. Okay, recording.
Mm.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll just let everyone in, and as they get settled,
Shall we just wait
you
for?
know,
Okay.
um, it
Okay,
takes a second.
I'm ready, guys.
Perfect timing. So we've just let everyone in. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Um, yeah, great. I think it's yeah. We can probably start. We can do the introductions, then we can start with the event. So, hi everyone, I'm Bobby. I'm the vice chair of the London ACM SIGGRAPH. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for this event, and happy Earth Day to everyone. Before we start, I just want to introduce ourselves and what we do. London ACM SIGGRAPH is a volunteer non-profit organization based in London. We do regular events throughout the year, free for everyone, so that we can inform, connect, and yeah, so we can connect each other with in our industry. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I won't blabber much longer. I just want to introduce Simone, our creator for this film, and he'll take it up from here. So thanks.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I think I will just share my screen so you can watch what I'm seeing. 1 second. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. I don't know, but my camera doesn't work.
Second.
Okay, if everyone please sort of mute themselves as the presentation starts, and we'll keep the Q&A to the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Here we go. Does it work now? Can you see my
Yeah.
screen?
Yeah.
Yay. So welcome everybody. Happy Earth Day. It's a beautiful sunny evening here in London. We are almost out of the lockdown. They just opened the cages for us, so everyone is out and about having fun. But thanks for joining us today on this very meaningful day for this meaningful event. It's a real pleasure to be here today to present to you an exclusive behind the scene of our short film, Only a Child, a visual poem giving color and shape to the beautiful speech given by Severn Kali Suzuki almost 30 years ago, and created combining every animation technique in the book. We've got stop motion, CGI, 2D, animated objects, sand, paint on glass, you name it, we got it. And since the film is still doing its festival run, you should have received an email from the SIGGRAPH London team with a password-protected link to watch the film. I hope everyone received that email. And I hope you had a chance to enjoy it. If not, you can always, watch the film right now or just after the talk, as you prefer. Exactly 1 year ago, on Earth Day, and that's the reason why it's so meaningful for me to have this event today, because exactly 1 year ago, we released the trailer of Only a Child, just at the beginning of the pandemic. Therefore, it means a lot to me and therefore to the team of Only a Child to be able to show you this making of in this particular day. And thanks so much to the SIGGRAPH London team to make this happen and to make this possible. Really, really grateful for that. So let's dive in with a little bit of teasing you with some shots from Only a Child.
I'm only a child and I don't have all the solutions. But I want you to realize neither do you. If you don't know how to fix it, please stop breaking it.
here we go. So it's already been 1 year since we released this first trailer. It was really rude of me. I didn't introduce myself. So here we go. I am Simone Giampaolo, and I'm an animator and animation director based in London and originally from Switzerland, from the Italian side of Switzerland. And I've been working as a short form and commercial director now for a while in London with different clients, as you can see from the panel here. I worked with several studios. I was for a while at Blue Zoo. It was fantastic, but I left to become a freelancer. Then I joined Aardman. I work with Jellyfish. And right now, I'm currently directing an environmental TV series for kids at Ritzy Animation in London, which is going to come out probably in August. Why am I mentioning this branding and these clients? Because I've been doing a lot of commercial work. I've been doing a lot of commissioned animation. It's cool, it's working with these famous branding, famous names is kind of, quite a privilege, and it's inspiring. But I wanted to do, a couple of years ago, I wanted to do something more meaningful, something deeper, something more personal. I wanted to break out of these constraints of clients, and I wanted to break free, basically. And that's the reason, one of the main reasons why Only a Child was born, as an independent idea with an independent company without a client or someone to commission it. But I'm not alone tonight. I've got some superstars who are going to present their own contribution to the film. We've got one of the most eclectic and artistically diverse studios in Switzerland, Eisprung Studio with Veronica. Joel unfortunately cannot make it tonight, but Veronica is with us. Then we have the Queen of Colors, Andy Chu, who's going to show us how much and how important it is color grading in an animated movie, such as Only a Child, which combines so many different techniques and segments. And to end with, we'll have the wizard of VFX and Houdini, Roman Kelling. And plus, we'll have a little surprise at the end for you. So stay tuned until the end, and you'll see. Why Only a Child? I'll give you a very short intro on how this project came about. So it was 2 years ago. I was feeling a bit depressed about the condition of the planet, the general global warming situation, the fact that things are getting worse and not better. And I stumbled onto this wonderful viral video on YouTube, which became very popular as the girl who silenced the world for 6 minutes. I watched that before. I had watched that before, but I sort of forgot about it. And I found it again in 2018. And when I heard Severn's words, which were given in 1992 at Rio, I started imagining it as a visual animated poem, as a visual animation with different techniques. So I immediately got in touch with Severn, and fortunately, step one to make Only a Child was a success, because Susan Johnston, who administrates Severn's and takes care of part of her business, she got in touch. They sounded both very interested and enthusiastic about the idea. And that was the very first step to make it come true, having the blessing from Severn herself. That was very meaningful, and it gave me a lot of hope, because I believed in this project since day one. But having this blessing was really important. And second step to make Only a Child come true was finding a production studio. Now, I had a lot of experience in London, but I wanted this project to be made at home, in my home country. So I found a production studio in Switzerland, and more precisely in Lugano, in the Italian side of Switzerland, who was interested in doing that and in helping me produce it, finding the fundings to do it. they've never done animation before, so it was a bit of a stretch there. It was a bit of a gamble, but I thought, you know, since the short was divided into so many different segments given to different people in different areas, it was possible. So the producer Tiziana Sodani and Gabriella De Gara were enthusiastic about the proposal. They loved the idea. They loved the fact that Severn was also interested. And that's when the ball started rolling. Unfortunately, our Tiziana never saw the final version of the film, only a work in progress, because she died last year. And the film is dedicated to her. Only a Child is dedicated to her, but she was one of the people who believed in that idea since the beginning. Step 3 to make Only a Child. Oh, and this is, this is actually the only time we managed to meet with Severn in person when she was in Geneva. She was traveling, and we managed to meet her for an afternoon and ask her a few questions and show her a work in progress, which really moved her. And that meant a lot. That was a very meaningful meeting, and we were so happy to, we had that chance to, you know, get in touch briefly in person before the Armageddon of coronavirus happened, before the pandemic. Step 3 to create Only a Child with many different techniques was to put together this army of different artists and different talents who could handle different animation techniques. And I made a lot of research. It took a lot of time really to select people and make sure everyone was happy with their schedule and their budget. But we managed to assemble a lot of cool different personalities in the world of animation, which came together to create this beautiful short. And that brought together a lot of techniques. And when people ask me why so many techniques, the reason is simple. I see animation techniques as sort of nations or countries. So you have the country of stop motion, the country of 2D, the CGI nation, and you know, having so many different techniques, therefore countries coming together was a metaphor really for different people coming together for a very clear, important goal. So having all these different talents uniting was very meaningful, and that's why I pushed for having many animation techniques since day one. And one of my favorite part of making Only a Child was collaborating with all this talent and people. And we sort of, what's reality today with Zoom and online working, smart working, what's reality today was the sort of plan we used for Only a Child, because I was overviewing the full production from London, while all the artists were scattered in Switzerland, some of them in Spain, some other people were in the UK. So it was basically, we used our smart working before it became cool, it became a thing. Yeah, so a lot of Slack, a lot of Zoom calls and so on were used to make Only a Child come true. The film, even though 2020 was a very bad year for animation festivals in general, the film has already, you know, started its festival run. It's gone around. It's won a few awards and got selected in a few important festivals. It's great to see that it's starting to get momentum and recognition, but it took a while because last year was a bit depressing for every long or short format film. But in spite of, you know, getting this recognition, we really hope to share it with as many people as possible and soon to put it online publicly, because we believe this message has to reach everyone again and touch as many people as possible. So this was my intro. Now I leave the stage to Veronica from Eisprung.
Hi, everyone. Like Simona said, I'm Veronica Montagno, and I'm a member of Eisprung Animation Studio. I worked there together with Joel Hoffman. He couldn't make it, so you have to put up with me. The next slide, please. So we are located in Bern. Yeah, exactly. We are located in Bern. There's the building where we are, and beside the building is the river Ade. It's quite nice in summer. Yeah, and we do the next slide, please. We do commission film, but also our own work, short films. And our latest one is Lachsmänner. It's in English, it's Salmon Men. Here the trailer. Yeah, and we did that one together with Manuela Leuenberger, and it was produced by YK Animation Studio. They are also based in Bern. Look them up, really great artists and lovely people. Like I said, we do also commissioned work, and we really love to work in 2D and in stop motion. We are quite passionate about these techniques and try to mix them up and and try to do different and creative work. Exactly. We also like to collab because we are a really small studio, so it's always nice to integrate other people's from other studios or freelancers, and it's always interesting, and you learn quite a lot, we think. So that's really nice. Yeah, and now that was us, and now to the Only a Child part. We had the honor and the pleasure to do 2 sections, section 17 and section 14. Section 14 I did with Manuela Leuenberger, and section 17 with Joel. And today I'm going to concentrate on the section 17, on the stop motion one. Yeah, we got from Simone the Animatic and the Colorboard. I just found the Colorboard, so that's why I put that one in. And we actually didn't change that much. We just let the child grow bigger and the dad got smaller. That's the only thing that we added into that section because we wanted to make the gill part more intense. So that's why we add that. And Simone thought it was a good idea. So that's why we chose it. So on the next, you see the storyboard just with the speech of Severin to time it a bit to have the image and the text together. Yeah, and then I went into the design part, I guess. That's the next slide. Yeah, exactly. And like I told you, we had 2 sections, and I wanted them to look different, and also like not only in the techniques, also like in the style of it. Yeah, and you see the Büste eines Kindes from Paul Klee, because I was thinking a lot about him while I was working on Simone's work. I don't know why, but it just happened, and I kind of like it because like it was about Swiss animators, and Paul Klee is a Swiss artist and also from Bern, so I like this connection. And you see the big you see that big head also in the characters that I did, I think. So on the next one, you see them. I did the color. I worked first in 2D because I needed to like fix the colors and also the characters, and that was way easier in 2D than do that in plasticine. So, and then when I did that, I got into the plasticine part because mixing the colors is quite hard. FYI. And yeah, and I tried it out, and I was like, the goal was to have like the a mix of the like clear forms and also like the handcrafted plasticine combined. So I tried that, and I hope I succeeded. Yeah. Then meanwhile, Joel was doing the animatic also in 2D because like the timing was set and we had to nail that, and that's why it was easier to do it first in 2D.
My dad always says, you are what you do, not what you say. Well, what you do makes me cry at night.
Yeah, and then the next step was put the frames on glass plates. So that was my work. And I put the picture on the right to, yeah, you saw that the last frame on the last shot And I like that the contrast of how creepy it looks there, and then at the end it looks quite cute. Yeah, and there you have Joel animating, doing the magic part. Back then we were in a Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you again.
Oh, sorry. So where was I? Yeah, we were in a small studio and we didn't have space to put up the set, so we went to the cellar. It was quite improvised, but it worked out at the end, and here is the result of it. Can you?
My dad always says, you are what you do, not what you say. Well, what you do makes me cry at night.
Yeah, that was our section. If you want to look up our work, please visit our website. If you have questions or want to contact us, please do. And thank you for listening.
Any questions for Veronica can be asked right at the end of the talk. We'll have a Q&A. Now next on our stage, the guru, the Swiss guru of Houdini and distraction, Roman Kellin.
Hey, what's up? Like Simona said, my name is Roman Kellin. I'm a director and visual effects artist working out of Zurich. I'm running a collective called Polk with a bunch of independent animators and visual effects artists and illustrators and so on. Anything moving, mainly 3D, but also 2D. So my presentation is going to be a bit more on the technical side of things, since I thought SIGGRAPH, that sounds technical. So we're first gonna watch the sequence, and then I'm gonna take you into some of the scenes and the setups I created for it.
You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert. If you don't know how to fix it, please stop breaking it. You are deciding what kind of a world we are growing up in. We are your own children.
Cool. Okay, pull up the next slide. Thanks, dude. So basically, I got the initial storyboard from Simone, and we started talking about it. And I had some ideas and some amends to it to make it fit the narrative of Severn a little bit more. Like, for example, to turn the camera upside down, so we're looking up at the mobile. So basically, like, the mobile of these hanging animals looks like a forest, and we can see the sun sort of for the metaphor of the ozone layer. And as we progress in the sequence, for example, there's this drone sort of shot, like overrunning the mobile, where she's talking about the forest and so on. So I try to match that up and interpret it, and yeah, basically tie it together a little bit more. And yeah, so here's basically the setup for all these different animals. In the end, it's all animals we got online, because there wasn't enough time or budget to create them by ourselves. But in the end, there was quite a bunch of tweaking needed to make them appear as these porcelain animals. We had to thicken them a little bit and just make sure they all work in scale and basically have the correct UVs, etc., etc. And to make it really dynamic and procedural, for example, here we can see the shading tree. And that's like a one master shader that's going to work for all the different animals. And basically being switched out by attributes in Houdini, so I can really streamline it and amend changes while I'm going along, and making it very easy to adjust everything at once without having to move into the different models again. So one key asset was the rope, where all the animal, or the string where all the animals are hanging from. And there was this main effect where it rips, which I thought is quite important as it's a key moment in the short. And I wanted it to feel as realistic as possible. And here we can sort of see the setup for this rope. It's all procedurally generated, and here we can see some of the controls to basically build out this rope. And this way I had an easy to control asset, which I could bring into all of the different shots and basically vary it, or as we progressed, like start ripping it apart, and like add some fuzzing to it, and instance it to all the different animals basically. And this way I also it's also quite easy to have it have this variance and make the scene a little bit richer. Here we can see the basic setup. It's all based on splines. It's basically one string with a modeled out knot, and then I'm just twisting some splines around it with math and removing stuff and fizzing it out, and just trying to get as much control over it as I possibly can, to basically have this one asset to control everything I need in the end. And here you can see how it always looks differently, and how I added like tiny details of these separate strings, like the whole thing is made of, and there's a little fur setup on the whole thing. And here you can see a quick render of it and how it looked rendered. And then there was the part of ripping the rope apart. And I first started doing it just with procedural animation, but quickly noticed that I could pull everything into Vellum, and that it was actually really straightforward to just do a simulation. So I did this string simulation, and basically every single thread is simulated. And it worked quite well. Here I'm adding some details with particles that are going to be like dust and debris once it rips. You can barely see it here, but it's these little fibers and points that are floating around once it rips, just adding to the realism. And here's a dust setup. So when it rips, we have these volumes emerging from the rope from ripping it. And all this was basically also generated procedurally, so I could just like change out the rope and make amends to it and just run the whole simulation again and do different versions until I was happy with one. And that's basically what you're seeing in the film. And if I ever want to rip ropes again, I have a perfect setup for it. Here you can see a quick render of it. Yeah, so here's the basic setup for just more static scenes, where we're just flying through the mobile and how everything was set up. It's a pretty basic scene with a cove and a sky, and we have these threads that are also generated procedurally. I could basically change how far they're hanging down and how fast the animals would be turning. And this way I had an easy setup to basically cover all the shots where I needed it, and could quickly switch out different animals and do a layout of how it all felt and adjust the height, since that was quite crucial to have a nice composition here. And here you can see a quick render. And so jumping back into the concept side now, here you can see like the background is sort of blue and more friendly. And as we are progressing through the scene, everything like becomes warmer and more yellow. Exactly. So this was basically the most tedious work I had to do for it. It's this hero moment of the rhino shattering. Here we can see quick breakdown, how it falls and shatters into pieces. And as we are having this slow motion effect, I had to simulate everything in slow motion, because just simply retiming it wouldn't really work, because pieces would just start intersecting, the volumes wouldn't work, everything would jump around. So it became a really long sequence to sim, but in the end it was worth it. So I could just play with the time ramps and speed it up and slow it down where I needed to. So here's that basic setup. First of all, I had to go through building basically ceramic version with thickness of the rhino. Here you can see how I built the inside with VDBs, and here is a quick breakdown of the shattering of it with these sort of planes. The model gets cut up into different pieces, which are then glued together again. And because it's quite high res, here's a more simple representation of the rigid bodies that were simulated. And there I had the wrong cache. Just like wait for that. There we go. And it's just a bullet simulation, basically running really slow, like I said, so I could speed it up again. And you can see these red lines, which are the constraints between these pieces. So like some pieces of it stay together whilst other break based on how it falls on the ground. Here's a little debris setup where when it breaks, like little particles emit from the breaking point. So we have a lot more detail, which also adds to the visual richness. Here we can see how I removed the interfaces of these pieces that are still together, because otherwise the shading wouldn't work for it. And here you can see the particles generated when it breaks and how they're emitted away, and sort of adding that dust. And on top of that, I added a fluid sim, which we're going to see next. Here you can see basically these small pieces, like the broken up ceramic debris. And here you can see, as I mentioned before, the volumes being generated when it falls, also based on the same principle. So we have all these dust and details coming together and adding to it. So for me, the screen just froze back there. But anyways, that's sort of
we are on the last slide now.
Yeah, it just went black for me for a moment. So yeah, basically that was the CGI setup, and here you can see real life mobile AI 3D printed out of my sequence, which I thought was quite fun to do. Yeah, that's it from my side. If you're more interested in my work, feel free to visit my homepage, romankaling.com, or follow me on Insta and Twitter. I sort of try to be as social as I can there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Roman. And
Thanks for listening.
last artist on our roster tonight is Andy Chu, colorist at Black Kite Studios.
Hey guys, how's everyone? That was a very cool breakdown, Roman. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. So hi guys, my name is Andy and I'm a colorist based in London. And when me and Simone did this project, we did it at Electric Theatre Collective. But since then I have moved companies. So right now I'm at Black Kite Studio. So I'm gonna keep like my part of presentation like quite just basically touching like the base approach of how a colorist can be part of an animation project. And so you can see like this is so I won't go into like too much technical side, but if anyone is interested, like feel free to contact me afterwards. So this is what you see right now is me in the grading suite. Most of the grading suite looks like this, and I'm on base light. And most of the time it is this dark, but you can see in a little bit of a brighter one. So basically we will have like a proper Dolby monitor where we can see the picture, the color like in their correct value. And then we always have this big panel to like, so that we can tweak very intricately, like every little attributes that contributes to color. So when Simone first, or when we first discussed, I think there was, oh, sorry, let me just say one thing. If we go to the next slide, then, so normally in a live action world, this is where my job comes in. Like most of the things are shot log. So everything is very flat, like the image on the left, and then we will give it the vibe and the contrast and everything to make the image like on the right. But in terms of animation, very frequently we will get like a color script, which is something Simone showed me. So through this is not something we get in live action every day. So I found this really interesting, that I can sort of get the idea of what they're going for. Like it's just, it's very, very dense, and which I think is a great approach, because when you are trying to combine so many different media, like so many different kinds of footage, it's good to like highlight the color and make them as vibrant as possible. And and this project had a really good idea of like reflecting global warming. So we would go from like a cooler palette into the world of warmth, which is something I think it was kept really nicely throughout the film. And so maybe I can show you guys some frames. This one is the perfect example of like how you see like the color is already kind of there, but we enhance it just so that it will match with like the story, the color script even better, like so that the color is not too wash, and then we give it that density, and it's also kind of like pushing the separation between cool and warmth a little bit more. So then when we try to like tie different shots together, so for example these two shots are neighboring in the whole edit. So the one with the map with all the beans, there you can see that they're both sort of in the area of blues, but just by missing it a little bit, it creates this disconnection. So the lower bit is what we've done in the suite. Then we try to match the blue, and then you can see that they're now at a more similar like contrast level. And throughout the film, this is like something we were really working on. So obviously every frame is still, every shot created by different artists has their own character, but we try to tie them together in terms of capping the contrast level and like the hue in similar ways. And in some shots, for example, this one, it doesn't really need much tweaking. So when I get a shot like this, I will just enhance it a little bit. So then just that slight change for me is a huge difference to keep the consistency together. And then, so yeah, I think throughout the whole film, like if we look at the one with more like all the screenshots, so this is all ungraded. I just took 6 of them to like demonstrate how quickly after the grade, the density kind of reflects how the color script was trying to aim for. And in all of these 6 frames, you can see that we have so many different media. We have 2D animation, we have like a bit of like photorealistic stuff as well in the CG shots that Ramon did. Like all of these for me, they will still look different, but just by keeping the contrast level consistent, I think that gives the whole film the packaging that it needs. And so this was a very big challenge for me to like how to make sure that every shot still looks the same as how they were intended to be, but that they can sit together well in a world that doesn't feel alienating. And then since then I started to do like more animation, and I recently, last year I think, this is a spot created by Blinking, also an animation studio in London. They did a full CG spot. It's like a 2-minute commercial. It's called Toon Blast Tumbleweed. And I think this is a good example of how, so in here, I didn't have to battle with different media. It's just about perfecting like what the artist has done. And this is like a perfect case of like how coloring can really help with like with especially CG stuff, because you have an army of artists that they're focusing on texture and lighting, but actually every single shot like involves so many different individuals that build it together. So everybody is focusing on their part. And so when I come in, it's my job to focus on the big picture. And I can also help like with lighting, with like just some of the lighting that they couldn't achieve, like maybe because of time or maybe because of like rendering issue. Facelight can do that for you. So in this case, like in these 3 characters, like the bear in the middle, like his color is changing throughout the whole film, and I tried my best to like put him back to like consistency. And then so here this is their final render before they comes to gray, and they were really struggling with like, because of the way they did the fur, like the rendering is just not smooth. I'm quoting them, this is what I said. So if you look at, for example, like the right hand of the bear, when it was ungraded, the lighting just didn't, it was way too dark, and like it's almost like it has like a different source of lighting. So in grade, I was able to, key it out, shape it, blur it, whatever technique it takes, like to bring it to like a fine finished look. So this is, I guess, I think in the world of short film and the short form, like commercial or short film, like a lot of animation studios, they don't really budget grading, or like they don't really think grading should be a part of this, but it's slowly changing, and I really enjoy doing it. It's a very different kind of approach than grading on live action film. But yeah, I can see the fun in it, and so thank you so much for having me on this one.
Thank you, Andy. Wonderful. It's always a pleasure to listen to you talking about colors. And we are coming to the end of this talk. Thank you so much for being with us. But yeah, you're right. I mentioned about a surprise. Yeah. She's now a few years older, but she's still very, very involved in environmentalism and social justice activism. We have here, it's a great honor to introduce to you and to present to you Severn Kalli-Suzuki herself.
Hello. Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here on Earth Day. Happy Earth Day to everyone. Simone, thank you so much for the invitation. I am so honored to be joining you all today. My name is Severn Kalli-Suzuki. Yes, I'm a few years older than I was in 1992, a generation ago. I am a lifelong fan of animation. So it's been such a thrill to be part of this project, and it is absolutely an honor to be joining these amazing artists today. Thank you so much for this fascinating panel. I really want to just really appreciate the foresight of Simone, his vision, and also the vision and collaboration of his team, his core team, as well as all of the artists who participated. Simone reached out to me several years ago now, and I just wanted to point out that this was before the wave of interest that people had or have had recently in the youth movement to raise awareness about climate change and the environment, the ones that has been spurred by Greta Thunberg and many of her friends and colleagues. So it was a very interesting timing that he wanted to make this film that was really highlighting the voice of a child at this time when the world was just starting to really reawaken to what we are doing to the earth. I have not, I've been an activist since the Rio Earth Summit, since before the Rio Earth Summit, which is now, most of my life. And yet we have not yet reached a turning point in this human narrative. We have not yet changed our ways. And we need to do this work. We need to transform our societies so that we're not on a path of collision with the natural world, so that our children actually have a chance in a climate that makes sense and that is conducive to their well-being. So we need artists. We need everybody, but we need artists. And this film is such a powerful example to me of how the talents and the disciplines of our societies today can really use their skills to make a difference, to transform people's hearts, to make people realize that they have power as human beings living today, and that we must take action to transform our societies. And finally, I want to say that this film to me is really an incredible example of what happens when we support crazy ideas. And it's an example of the butterfly effect. Back when I was a child and hatched the idea of going to the UN and speaking out, I wasn't able to achieve this on my own. It was because my parents, my friends, our community members, all kinds of people agreed to collaborate and support this idea. It was because others decided to stand shoulder to shoulder with myself and the other children in our little club. And it was because of this that we were able to realize our idea of speaking to the UN as 12-year-old children. And this is also true of this film, because so many people came together and decided to work together. You were able to make this incredible piece of art a reality. And it is an incredible accomplishment. Just listening to you all talk about the technicalities that are behind this, just a little part, just some of the logistics and some of the skill, just incredible. So together we can achieve these incredible things. And it also is an amazing example of how, when we decide to act, when we decide to work towards our visions for change, it has magic to it. When I was 12 years old at the Earth Summit, almost 30 years ago, I never would have dreamed that a generation later, people would still be talking about the speech made by a 12-year-old. I didn't know it was going to be filmed. I didn't know that the internet was going to go public. I didn't know it would go viral. And I never would have dreamed that it would be reborn a generation later as a powerful artistic film that was relevant to the year 2021. And here we are. And so I just really want to say that, it's been a privilege for me to play a role in this. And it really is an example of what we can achieve when we work together and we follow our dreams for change, because our planet needs us to catalyze change. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you, Severn. Thanks so much for your inspiring words. I've got goosebumps after listening to you again. And yeah, I think we can open the Q&A now. If anyone has got, there are a couple of other members of the team in the audience. There is the music composer Flavio Gargano and the editor Darren Milston, who helped me until the very last day editing everything together. Maybe we can pin them as well, Darren as well. And if you guys have any questions, please shoot. Are we?
Hi.
Bobby or Kate, do we collect question, or shall we just let people ask?
Give it a second, Simone.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Someone has a question.
I got a question.
Go for it.
My name is Kadar Abraham. I'm here from Minnesota, United States of America. I just wanted to ask you guys, how long did it get to you guys to where you are, the stage that you guys are?
You mean as animation artists? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, you know, and yeah, just being the way, like, yeah, just how long did it take y'all to where you guys are, your career?
Gosh, I let Roman start here. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh my God, I don't know. Way too long, I'd say. No, for me, I'd say it all really started out like 20 years ago when I was starting to film my friends skateboarding and snowboarding, and I was always filming and doing these little films, and was just really getting into animation, and like the intro was more important to me than anything else, and that's where I went down the rabbit hole of animation and basically knew right there that I wanted to do this. And long story short, first did architecture and stuff, and then I just broke everything off and went to film school, and that's basically where everything started to become real. Yeah.
How about you, Veronica?
Have I been in any? Is that the question?
What again?
What was the question? I don't know if someone asked me a question.
And no, the question was how did we get here from an artistic point of view? And I wanted, Veronica, do you have your own story, background story?
No, I don't.
I am just new here, and I'm just trying to find myself into the industry. So, yeah.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Cool. Best of luck then to you and to your path.
We have a few more questions in the chat. Could I read one of them actually? Yeah, so Juan asked, what was the process of choosing the right shot for artists? He says the kind of animation of each one and having a clear variety of styles through the short. I guess how did you choose the different styles based on the artist, something like that?
Okay, I'll jump in for this one because I was a bit constrained by the Swiss fundings. We applied for Swiss fundings to make this project come true. That means that most of the artists I had to work with had to be selected from Switzerland. So that was the first step. I got in touch with all the amazing. Switzerland is a small country, but has got a very good small industry of independent people, independent directors who create animation for a short film or commercials and so on. And I got in touch with them. I knew I wanted to have as many techniques as possible. So I started with the obvious one, 2D, CGI. And then I started searching for the niche sort of styles, such as more stop motion objects, animated objects, sand animation, paint on glass, which is not many people do it nowadays. So it's been a research, and I found almost everyone in Switzerland. There are a few exceptions, like some international people. Flavio himself, the beautiful guy you can see here on the screen, is below me here. He is from Italy. But there is an animation artist from Spain who did the sand animation, Cesar Linga, but most of the core of the team was in Switzerland.
Thank you, Simone. We have a lovely question for Severin, actually. So Severin, Joseph is asking, what positive changes have you seen in the last 20 years?
Thank you for this question. Sometimes it's quite overwhelming to think about all of the things that have gotten worse when it comes to the environment. And certainly climate change is now really arrived. We're really now in the midst of it. But there are such powerful examples of the resilience of nature that are all around us. I think that a lot of us in the early days of the pandemic, we saw all the videos of nature rebounding when humans weren't so active. And some of these videos, I think, were not as accurate as they hoped that we thought. But the point is that nature can rebound if given the chance. And right now I'm speaking to you from Haida Gwaii, which is an archipelago off the west coast of Canada. And just right now, we have gray whales, which are outside the village where I live, the village of Skidegate. The gray whales arrive every April now to feed, and it's just an incredible thing to watch them. They're just, not too far offshore, and they're feeding. And this is a change from a generation ago. A generation ago, the gray whales were not here because they had been hunted about, a couple generations ago. They had been hunted almost to extinction. And now, after several generations, they're starting to come back. And so I think it's just amazing that my children are growing up seeing the gray whales in front of the village when their grandparents did not see gray whales because they had been hunted so harshly. So this is an example of how, given the chance, because we're no longer hunting gray whales here, given the chance, nature can respond in these incredible ways. And this gives me endless hope. This is what we need to do today.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Talking of whales, I encourage everyone to watch the new documentary on Netflix called Seaspiracy. I was like, yeah. My gosh, it's really eye-opening. I really encourage you to watch it. And
also my octopus teacher, that one was a bit more of a...
That's also lovely, yeah.
So I'll combine two questions into one because you answer part of one of them. So one of the questions are, what were the biggest challenges you faced with this film, and how long did this project take?
Who wants to answer that? Andy? I think Andy and Flavio should give their opinion on that, because the music is always underrated, but it was a big challenge as well. Yes, please, Andy.
I think my challenge is a lot less than all the animators. In this case, I personally was quite worried, because I am basically tweaking and grading on the animators' work. And without them being present, I was a bit concerned about, the degree that I push, or am I still respecting where they came from? But Simone really had it has been a great process, I believe. So then you feel like you can represent what they would be comfortable with. And the grading process didn't take long. I think we normally, for a film about this length, we did it maybe in a day. Yeah, that's a normal duration, I would say, for grading a piece like this. I'm curious about the sound part, though.
Yeah, Flavio, which one was your biggest challenge?
Hi guys, everybody. First, Thank you for allow me to collaborate to put my little art to your huge piece of art and combine everything together. It's beautiful to see all the effort you put into this movie, and it was a very pleasure. The challenge to us were to Simone, it was to represent musically the sense of the time going in just one direction, and we did no chance to go back. And I represented with in a very simple way, but efficient, and one note repeating itself constantly, representing the sense of the time like a raindrop dropping. And then was a huge crescendo from the beginning to the end of the song. Uh, and that's why, because I worked on the storytelling, because I didn't see the old footage before. And so it was a work in progress. And so we start with this note, and there it can be silly to say, but the research of this note was huge because it's simple, but it expresses in the best way the meaning of the time. That's it.
Fantastic. Great answer. Thank you, Flavio. For me, the biggest challenge was to keep my mental sanity while doing Only a Child in my spare time, because that was done in the evening, that was done in weekends while I was working full-time at Jellyfish Pictures in London. So my biggest challenge was like, Darren, can we do this at the end of the day? Can we edit it together? You know, it was like a lot of extra hours done for this film. Any last
last one, Simone?
Yeah.
Do you think that choosing such a variety of animation techniques helped empower the message of the short film?
Someone has an idea to answer? Like, it's a bit something I said before, just briefly to go back to the talk. When I gave my intro, I see each technique as a little, metaphorically, as a nation, and all this nation coming together make a message, make a speech much more valuable, and that's and much more powerful. That's the reason why I really insisted to use lots of techniques, even though it was a real pain for our producers who had to create 18 different budgets with 18 different schedules combined over, put them over 10 to 12 months, and sort of being flexible for every artist, because everyone had their, necessities, everyone had their own schedule. Like artists like Roman and Veronica, they had other projects going on at the same time as freelancer. So yeah, that was the reason for behind such a choice, like bring people together to create a common message.
I'd like to say something to that too, if I could. I think that the message of diversity is such a powerful one. Right now, we really have been crushing diversity on every level. We've been crushing not only biological diversity, but we've been crushing cultural diversity, linguistic diversity, economic diversity, as these huge corporations take over these smaller independent businesses, and we know from looking to nature that diversity is the way for survival and for being able to weather the storms of natural disasters and unforeseen events. So it's just brilliant that the vision for this was such a message of diversity in the techniques that have been used and in collaboration. I mean, it's just an incredible thing. And it also really makes me think again of the importance of artists, because artists have a vision, and their vision is often very, very complicated and complex. And it's not easy, but those more complex solutions and answers and visions are what we will need to get us in the right direction. So I do think the form does mirror the content, which is we have to support diversity instead of crushing it.
Very well said. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone who joined tonight.
Yeah.
Happy Earth Day. Bobby, if you want to encourage people to sign up for
SIGGRAPH. I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everyone for doing this. Simone, Severin, Roman, Flavio, Veronica, Darren, Susan, Andy, everyone. Thank you so much. And thanks for everyone for joining us. We had great messages here. It looks like everyone really enjoyed the film. Severin, what an inspiring person you are. Say hi to the whales from us all the way there in Canada. And thank you everyone for joining us. Please check our website. We have plenty of events throughout the year, all the time. So it's for everyone. If you want to join the industry, we do those sort of events and also behind the scene talks. Thank you so much. And I think we're closing for tonight. So everyone enjoy your day. Thank you, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.